you've got an animal and you're just sitting there ready to let it loose and take it down. That's it to me. You've got animal power there and you're going to fight it and you're going to win.
To fight animal power, you dress up like a space-age gladiator in a flame-proof mask and sit strapped into a kind of cage behind the most potent piece of machinery you can buy or devise. You're about to practically fly in the sport or hobby or affliction that they call drag racing. Drag racing is utter simplicity. The driver covers a quarter of a mile as fast as he can. To do this, he'll use up maybe 15 pounds worth of fuel and leave a good few more pounds on the track in burnt-off tyre tread. The thrill lasts little more than 10 seconds, because that's about how long it takes a dragster to motor a quarter of a mile. In England, they approach 200 miles an hour. Danger is always present. England's best-known dragster knows it. He's Mike Collins, the guru.
It's dangerous. You're fighting... We'll take the big cars. We'll say 1,250 horsepower. You're fighting that for 1,320 feet. When you're starting, you don't slide the clutch, you don't ease the clutch out, you just drop it. So 1 minute you're sitting there with the engine wild and chained, and the next minute you just let loose 1,250 horsepower. You really have to fight to control it. It doesn't look as if they are, but those guys are really fighting. Then you've got to control the car all the way through the quarter mile. At the start line, you're only controlling just 1,250 horsepower that's been let loose. 1,000 feet out, you're controlling 1,250 horsepower that's doing 170 miles an hour. The guys really work. It's dangerous, but they are completely encased in an aluminium fire suit, the one that look like the Silver Lame singer suits. But they're there for safety. The chance of them getting burnt is negligible. The roll cages you see are wrapped around their heads. They're there so that if the car flips end for end, the driver gets out. If you can read everything just right, you can not, with your gear changing, you read the lights just right. As it goes green, you're gone. If you read that right, you knock 1/10 of a second off your time. If your gear change right, you can knock up to 2/10 of a second off your time. You don't have time really to think because you've only got a matter of about 20 seconds. You've got one eye on the tachometer to check the engine revs are coming up right, one eye on the Christmas tree, the starting system, and your eyes are splitting. You build the revs up to the lights with the hope that you've got exactly the right RPM on. Just as the green goes on, drop it, and if you're right, you're gone. If you're not, you've fluffed it. If you sidestep the clutch, you're letting in instant power. Whereas if you ease it out, you're like, well, we call it granny driving or granny shifting. You just change gear as if you're a grandma. You just ease the clutch out. But when you're drag racing, you drop it. Just slip your foot to the side, bang. When you shift, you don't just change gear. You throw your whole body into it. Your body is part of the shift. And you really bang that stick home. I mean, dragsters don't use gears. They're direct drive. So they don't have to worry about gear changing. They just got to worry about keeping it straight. They run on nitromethane, which is an extremely exotic and extremely volatile fuel, but it increases your horsepower. If you run 90% nitro, you can guarantee a 100% horsepower increase. And if you run 100% nitro on a supercharger, you've got a 150% horsepower increase. I think that's where the jungle juice goes. The hard stuff, nitro. In this case, it's probably about 40% nitro, 55% methanol, and 5% of something they don't tell you about. That's their own secret brew.
Could this brew explode when you're belting along at 100 and something miles an hour?
Not unless something went wrong. Any car, a spark, explodes the fuel, but not really. It's a volatile fuel, but it's a safe fuel. It's the one that's been proven over the years. It's the one most racers use. It gives more horsepower cheaply.
Getting horsepower cheaply is a British speciality. In America, the sport is heavily sponsored by the big motor companies, and professional dragster drivers win enormous cash prizes. In Britain, after a hesitant start 5 years ago, drivers are still their own mechanics and are still making do and doing it themselves with indomitable British patience and high skill. Where they can't save money is on the tyres that are called slicks. These are special treadless monsters imported from America at about £25 each. 6 really good burn-ups can wear them out. It's possible to spend £5,000 or more on a dragster from America, but some of the British builders began with second-hand engines bought for £30. With months of tinkering and fiddling and adjusting, they become flying British bedsteads that have cost perhaps £300 or £400, but in a way are priceless. The strange shape is carefully worked out to produce maximum speed but still stay on the ground. Conventional brakes aren't much good at the end of a run at 150 miles an hour plus, so the dragsters pack parachutes. Describing the dragster thrill is difficult, but veteran champion driver Allan Herridge has a phrase for it.
You're on a knife edge all the time. Your engine can blow, you can get out of shape, and you just don't really know what to expect at every run. Every run is a different run. You go a little faster or you go a little slower. I don't know, it's an unusual form of excitement, you know. And when you're coming up there, it's just sheer acceleration because the cars run direct drive, so if you don't have no gearbox in this one anyway. And it's like riding on well, I should imagine a roller coaster, you know. You've got an element of control, but the majority is built into the car. If the car is built right and you've got the power, it's like a missile, you know, it's whoosh.